booklet about decluttering, and we're going to share all of this with you. So, you know, this is a great pleasure for me to be with you today to help you through the motivation and inspiration to follow through on your resolution to live a lighter, decluttered life. Regardless of your plans to move or not move, sell or not sell, that's not what I'm here for. I'm here to come from contribution because we all seriously need this. Like, we all need it, myself included. So let's just look at the order of events today. I hope you are feeling welcomed, because I do want to thank you for being here. And we are just going to go over, for the people who are here for the first time, it will review some of what we dealt with last week. And if you are returning to us, it'll be a great review. And then we are going to expand and deepen our learning together by getting right into campaign, divide, and conquer. This is the 5th step of the Decluttering Battle Plan. And this is where we really, pardon the expression, put boots on the ground and get this thing done. Okay, so are you with me? I also want to remind you that there is a great opportunity here for us to answer your questions, and that's really important to me. By the time you leave here, I want you to feel like you have had your questions answered, because one of the big attractions to doing this in person is that it can be interactive. And if you have a particular category of stuff that is kind of stymieing your efforts to declutter, then put it in the chat box and we'll make sure that we get to it. Okay, there is time at the end. So without further ado, let's just recap why you are here today. A lot of people state that clutter is holding them back from making that necessary transition to a home that is more appropriately sized. If you're like me, we have empty bedrooms. As a matter of fact, I quote the statistic from the Toronto Star that there are 2.2 million empty bedrooms in the GTA. And really, the equity that we all have tied up in our homes, a lot of it, if you analyze it, is being used to warehouse our stuff. And so whether it is because you find the physical work overwhelming, or the emotional plan of attack is very daunting, whatever is holding you back, I know that as intelligent, successful, grown-up people, we've all overcome far more than a cluttered basement. So I know that we can do this. We just need a plan. We need a strategy, and take back control, take back a sense of power over this, because so many people end up being imprisoned in a home just because they won't or can't declutter. Okay, so let's get going on this. We want to make sure that we are declaring D-Day, which is going to be Declutter Day, in your life and in mine. Trust me, I need this as a constant reminder. So we talked about this last week, that there are some intangible costs to clutter. And just because we can't monetize them doesn't mean that they're any less important. The sense of peace of mind that we lose in a cluttered environment, how it can amplify feelings of anxiety, and we're already having to deal with so much of that right now, that we need our homes to be a safe haven, a place of rest and sanctuary, and instead we've got them turned into warehouses. So we also find that as we just contemplate opening up our lives again and actually inviting people into our homes, that we want them to be places where we can entertain and socialize and not feel embarrassed by our environment. So those are very intangible. We've also measured it in terms of lost productivity, that we will have to repurchase things that we can't find, or we're late on bills. And this is where we start to get into the financial impact of clutter. The idea that a certain percentage of your home is just being used to store stuff. You know, we always talk about the 80-20 rule, and I don't know if you've gotten to that point, but I do know that there are 3 or 4 rooms in my house that I'm actually living in at any one time, and the rest of it does seem to be, not well used. So we can see this as a financial cost in terms of your property taxes, your utility bills, but also just the idea that you've got all of this money tied up in bricks and mortar. And maybe there are more, no, definitely there are more interesting things to do with it. And I just love the fact that we are thinking ahead now and starting to plan what we would like to spend our money on other than a house to hold our stuff. And may I also suggest other people's stuff? That's the big crux here, isn't it? That we don't just have our stuff. A lot of times we have our kids' stuff. We might have inherited some of our parents' stuff, and it just adds up. Okay, so we want to break that cycle and start getting to a place of freedom of possibility. I love this idea. So lots of times we do have this aggravating situation where we can't find things we need, and it robs us momentarily of our peace of mind, or just slows us down, makes us late. And I think this is so funny. The adult version of head and shoulders, knees and toes is wallet, glasses, keys, and phone. Yes, glasses. They're my nemesis. And I always joke that I need my glasses to find my glasses. But if we live in a more decluttered environment, those things that we really need are going to be available to us without that level of stress and aggravation. So we also want to talk about the fact that alongside of this lack of peace and quiet is our home being turned into a storage unit. But more saliently to my position here, we have a financial cost of holding on to a home that doesn't suit our needs. So I just read this week. People were talking about in the news how seniors are looking to the equity in their homes as a way of funding their retirement. Now, in my grandparents' age, people joined a company, they stayed with that company for 35 or 40 years, and they retired from that company with a pension in hand. We don't have that nowadays. If you're like me, you're an independent contractor, or if you were ever a stay-at-home mom, or just self-employed in whatever realm, a lot of people don't have enough in their savings to retire and still maintain their lifestyle. So they are mentally planning for one day liquidating their homes in order to realize that profit and live off that equity. Problem is, as I said, we're stuck with a home that is overfilled with stuff that we don't actually need or enjoy. So when you actually pull it down to dollars and cents, you can see that we have quite a high cost to live in a detached home, right? Like, this is really a lot of money being paid out on average to live in a detached home in York region. We're looking at $1.3 million on average. If you could see your way clear to downsizing to a townhouse or a condo apartment because you didn't have all of the stuff to maintain, look at literally hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could realize, putting that into a nest egg, putting that into investments that you could then draw down from. And I certainly am not an investment practitioner, but I do know that most Canadians are not well prepared for retirement. And I have to tell you that many of the clients that I've worked with, and this is so satisfying to me, we downsize their home and then they are able to retire. This just happened a couple of months ago. And to me, it was really, really heartwarming to know now that these people have choices. Now, regardless of what your living circumstances are or your future retirement plans, at some point, every single one of us will be downsizing. It's just a matter of whether it is by choice or if it's by circumstance. So I do have also clients where the clutter actually becomes a danger to them. And I just don't want anybody I know or care about to get to that situation. So we talked also last week, and we're just going to briefly review this, that we all have our reasons, I put in air quotes, for not decluttering up until now. Uh, and whether those are emotional, like in the sense that you're a sentimentalist, like me, like guilty as charged, where you want to keep little things from your children's school record, and you want to keep those mementos of your grandparents or the trip to the Bahamas or whatever it is. And then it just accumulates over time, and it's too much, and we have to let these things go, not in a way that strips us of our memories of those, but in a way that is more practical, keeping in mind that we can allocate a certain amount of space to those items that are important to us, and maybe take photographs of the rest, and put them into a small little coffee table book, rather than, like I have had in the past, boxes, banker's boxes full of crafts from school age. It just makes no sense, right? So the other kind of more practical side to people not decluttering has been that they say, oh, I'm going to need it someday. And I really question that, because I've walked into homes where there are little piles of lumber or shelving or bolts of fabric or whatever it is, old cans of paint. And I really think if you actually needed them, you probably could replace them. We're all so blessed to live in this country where, we don't have to worry about buying a gallon of paint if we actually need it. But the chances are you won't. Probably 85% of the time, or 90% of the time even, you won't need it. This really, really applies to clothes, doesn't it? We keep them, we hang on to them, and the way we are living now, living so much more casually, I don't know if I'm ever going to wear a suit again, but I might need it someday, so I keep it. So you can read through this list. It is review from last week, but I just want to caution you about telling yourself tales of items and justifying allowing them to take up valuable real estate, like really valuable real estate. So we want to make sure that we are moving forward, moving past our blockages to create a better future ahead. My goal for you, my goal for myself, is to have a future that is bigger than my past. And I don't mean bigger as in terms of a house. I have my last child leaving the nest in September to go to university. It makes zero sense for me to put my self-worth or even my money into a bigger home. But I want to live a bigger life in terms of experiences and travel and patio time with friends and all of that. So if you're like me, one of the things that's going to help you get there is to get decluttered. So I think this is hilarious. Me in 2019, if I could just have a week with nowhere to go and nothing to do, I could get my house in order. Me in 2021, nope, that wasn't the problem. How many of you can relate? We've had a year or more of this situation where, oh, I should have lost the weight by now, or got myself decluttered, or gotten in shape, whatever it is. That's not the issue. It's not a time issue. It's not a storage issue. It's just a stuff issue, and we're going to help you get through that. This is what I was talking about with clothes. Clothes I own, clothes I actually wear, clothes I am willing to give up. Oh, let's change that, people. Let's only keep the clothes that make us feel slim and trim and attractive and comfortable. So if you have clothes in your closet that are 3 different sizes, the size you currently wear, a size that is bigger, and a size that is smaller, why not just get rid of the things that are smaller, for sure, bigger, probably, and just keep the things that you actually wear? Isn't this a great idea? What a revolutionary idea. It goes right along with people who actually park in their garages. I've heard of them. I've never seen them before. I think they might exist. I'm not sure. Any questions, please make sure you register them in the chat box. Okay, so this is so true. We are somewhat conflicted that I want to live this minimalist life with little to no clutter. Yes, that is true. But then on the other hand, I'm also keeping this math assignment from the 5th grade that I might need it later. So this I can really relate to. We have this great intention, and the fact that you are here to me is worth celebrating. I want to applaud you for taking the time and dealing with this, because you've recognized that either your stuff is currently an issue or it's going to be an issue. So either way, you are here. Kudos to you. So let's get started on this clutter busting strategy for successful home sales. This is the perspective that I'm coming from. I'm coming as a realtor. I'm not trying to sell you on my services, but I do know that you have a huge financial incentive for when you eventually downsize. And it all starts with this. You are going to decide as of today that enough is enough. Nothing more comes into the house. No more Amazon Prime shopping splurges. No more dollar store bric-a-brac. We have decided that we all have enough. We have more than enough. And I know one thing, I will always have more than enough, but that's intended to share with others, not just myself. So let's get going. Step one, deciding that enough has been decided today. Here is a wonderful threshold. People who say to me, well, I might need it someday. Well, if you accidentally lost it, would you actually rebuy it? I found this week. I had to slip this into our presentation today. I think this is genius. Everything that you pick up, and if you are planning to move at some point, I really like this threshold as well, this decision making. You pick it up and you think, am I going to pay movers $180 an hour to move this box of whatever? Now, obviously, that is a pretty high bar for those things to be worthwhile. So one of the things that I always kept was like dollar store bags and tissues and things like that. Am I going to pay somebody $180 an hour to move my box of dollar store bags, my bag of bags? I don't think so. So if you look at it from that lens, you're going to see that there's a lot that you have currently that you wouldn't bother to keep. It's not adding to your life. And I love this quote too, as a bit of inspiration, turning it from the negative to the positive. What I know for sure is that when you declutter, whether it's on your home, your head, or your heart, it's astounding what will flow into that space that will enrich you, your life, and your family. That's right. We're going to make space. We're going to make space in our calendar. We're going to make space in our home. We're going to make space in our bank accounts. I love that. And just to remember that you've come through so much and that you can adapt. You can get uncomfortable in the short term and be challenged in new ways so that you can see the long-term gain. Okay, so we talked about this as step one of the 5-step decluttering battle plan, and that is to prepare to do battle. We talked about putting a date on the calendar, sharing that date with the people around you, first as accountability, second to give them notice that your free storage unit, otherwise known as the basement, the lease is coming due and you're not renewing. So they better make a plan to get rid of their college textbooks or hockey equipment or old clothes, whatever it is. You need them to come and take responsibility for their stuff so that you don't have to warehouse it for them. We're also going to gather up the supplies. I love this idea that we have all of our tools, in essence, all of our weapons ready so that we can do battle and not have anything frustrate our attempts. So that's garbage bags and markers and boxes for donation, and then bins for things we want to keep. And I do want you to take the time to just think of what it's going to be like to have that space reclaimed, to have that harmony restored, and really focus on that as the reward. You know, I know I may not look it to you, but I used to run half marathons. And when we were slogging it out in the middle of winter and running and training, one of the things that I really was motivated by was the finisher's medal at the end that we all got, and to have that put over your head. I want you to think almost in those terms, that you are going to have this great victory ahead, and it's going to take some slogging to get there. Realistically, I'm not here to blow smoke. I just want to tell you that we have a plan, and the plan involves chunking the time so that we are working in 25-minute increments, because that's been proven to be the maximum amount of time that people can work with one focus. There's been a lot written about the fallacy of multitasking and the idea that we think we're doing things well by doing a little this, a little bit of that at the same time. But no, the 25-minute focus is what will give you the best results over time. And plus, it's not so arduous that you are being discouraged by being fatigued, or it's overwhelming. If you can do 2 or 3 25-minute sessions of decluttering a week, you will be amazed how much you accomplish by the end of even just 1 month. So the other thing we talk about is dividing the territory. Rather than doing a little kind of sprinkling of your effort, we recommend for you to go to the place that needs it the most and start there. Now, sometimes I've gone to clients' homes and they open up the garage and it is a virtual wall of boxes and containers. How do you penetrate that? Where's the chink in the armor? Well, we suggest you start like professional organizers will, from left to right, top to bottom. So you literally stand at the threshold of the garage and you take the highest box on your left and you start by sorting that. And that is how you start picking away at this impenetrable wall. And over time, I just was thinking of this. This literally just popped into my head about, I saw this, it was a picture on Instagram of the effect of water dripping over time. This was 10 years. This was 25 years. And I was just thinking what a great metaphor that is for taking back this territory. Now, obviously, we want to work a little quicker than 25 years to get this done. But regardless, the principle holds true that by doing it in small amounts over time, you will see that victory. Okay, so you're going to take back the territory by chunking time and chunking territory. And then sometimes we have to ask for some help. There's no shame in that. I know we really do pride ourselves in being self-sufficient, yada, yada, but sometimes we need strong legs or longer arms to reach those things, or to get them to the dump for us, or the recycling facility, whatever it is. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You've earned it. And if that army of recruits can't be voluntold into service, then you can also think about hiring mercenaries. I say this all very tongue-in-cheek because I've been using this kind of battle metaphor, but there are companies that you can hire, but it may be just as simple as hiring a grandkid or a nephew or a neighbor's kid to help you run an online sale if you don't feel competent to do it yourself. So there's a lot of different strategies that we can employ. Sometimes it involves having other people come in and help us to be accountable, help us to get it done. And I personally have witnessed professional organizers come in and do an entire house, get it all completely ready for sale in 6 hours with a 3-person crew. That sounds remarkable, but you have to remember they are dedicated, they are focused, and they pick something up and it has no emotional attachment to them. They are going to pack it, or they are going to follow your instructions either to donate it, sell it, or trash it. Okay, so it is really remarkable, and it's worth the money sometimes. Sometimes we have time and sometimes we have money. And if you have the wherewithal, hiring a professional organizing company will transform your life. But that being said, there are things we can do together. And I call this fifth step campaign divide and conquer. Now, none of this is rocket science. None of this is in any way extraordinarily unique to me or my presentation. I think I've just packaged it in a way that is easily understood, hopefully motivational. And this is where we are actually going to stand, like I said, and start the room that you've decided to work on. You've got your supplies, you've given notice, everybody is on board. Now let's get going. Boots to the ground time. And I love starting with an easy win. And that first step is to clear the garbage. And don't get me wrong, I have literally sold a hoarder's home once. My very first deal, as a matter of fact, it was packed to about eye height with newspapers at the front window. And I'm not suggesting that any of us have gotten to that point, but we all have things that are no use to us and they really have no use to anyone else. And that's where they fall into the category of garbage. I really want you to do as much as you can to keep things out of the landfill, but we have to acknowledge that certain things can be garbage. Like what? Well, anything that is broken, soiled, or missed parts. And that's an easy guideline to follow. If it's something that you've intended to repair, but you haven't, things even like product boxes, packing peanuts, styrofoam, instruction manuals, spare parts, obsolete technology. This is a big one. We all seem to have handsets that go to telephones or VCRs with no remotes or vice versa, things that we're not using. And even VHS tapes now, you'd be very hard pressed to find a VHS player. So any of those things. And if you're like me, when I put up holiday decorations, I kind of have the A list, then the B list and the C list. So if you did not decorate with it this last holiday season, it's probably not something that you need to hang on to. And regrettably, baby gear, there's so much sensitivity right now about things being to safety code. A lot of baby gear is actually garbage, which I know feels like a shame, but I have no problem with throwing out any of these things, like I said, or recycling them whenever possible. I'm kind of putting garbage and recycling together because you'll notice that the things that are underlined are either e-waste or they're hazardous waste. So anytime that we can put those in the proper receptacles, we really want to encourage you to do that. We actually have a guide, and I just hired my 17-year-old daughter to update it to make sure it was all still current about who is open and accepting garbage and recycling donations, like in terms of, like for example, in Markham, they have an amazing textiles recycling depot. So you could take things that were tattered or soiled that you wouldn't want to donate to Salvation Army, the clothing, and you can give it there. So those are all things that we are going to constitute as garbage. And if you do this right, we are packing the bags and we are taking them out to the curb so that there's no temptation to retrieve anything. I noticed that there is a comment. I just want to double check what that comment is. Oh, no worries, no worries. And if you are thinking about garbage and recycling, this has to come to mind. By the age of 35, you should have a huge box of random cables, but you can't throw them out because you're pretty sure you still might need one a couple of days in the future. So this is true. Let's get rid of this, take it to e-waste or hazardous waste if it falls into that category. Now, this makes my heart glad. The idea of donating your surplus to people who could really genuinely need it and use it, that really makes me feel wonderful. So I just want you to think the workers at the Salvation Army Depot or Habitat for Humanity or the Restore or any of those other places, how appalled they must be by what people donate. Things that you wouldn't give a kid of yours, you wouldn't give a friend of yours, and yet you donate it. Things that are missing buttons or torn or soiled, stained. And I think they must be so upset when they see that. So let's just be kind and make sure that what you're giving still has some good life in it, that it's clean and in good repair. What a wonderful service it would be to put that button back on it before you donated it. Or anything that you have a duplicate of, things that you still have the tags on but can't return it. Anything that you haven't used in the last 12 months. Now, of course, I'm thinking right now a lot of clothing, but look at this other list of things that you can donate. There are places that will take household goods of all sorts, not just big furniture items, but anything that you might need to start a new life. Whether that is pots and pans or dishes and glasses, how many coffee mugs, but even beyond that, sporting equipment can be donated, canning equipment, all the hobby items that we purchased but never used, old luggage, exercise equipment, all of these things will find new life with someone else who will be grateful, and also we won't be putting it to the landfill. So a really good situation, like I'm always striving for, that is a win-win situation. So you get rid of it and they get to use it. So that's wonderful. There's your list. We'll be sending out this presentation for you so that you can review. Don't worry, you don't have to scribble down these ideas. We're going to send this out to you, make sure that you are set up for success by the end of our time together. Yes, this is going to be so true. Headed to Goodwill to donate after a month of stay-at-home spring cleaning. Oh my goodness. Yes, imagine it's been a year, how much more we can bless other people with. Okay, so donating is really close to my heart. I think it's a really important aspect of decluttering is, and it helps, I find it helps with letting go things that are sentimental or meaningful to us because we know somebody else is going to need it and enjoy it. The example I always like to use is the gliding rocking chair that I had. When I was a stay-at-home mom with 4 daughters, I think that rocking chair must have had about 50,000 kilometers on it, back and forth, middle of the night. And I was keeping it, but it has a huge footprint. And I have a smaller home now. And I was saying to my daughter, oh, I'm keeping that. And she's like, nobody wants that, Mom. So I reluctantly took it out to the curb and I went to get the footstool. And by the time I came back, it was gone. And I just was so happy thinking that somebody had picked it up, one of my neighbors obviously, and was going to be using that now instead of it taking up space in my basement. So awesome. Love this concept. And it has many, many applications. Now, this is another thing that people often plan to do, and that is to sell items. I don't know how people are going to feel about garage sales this summer. I think it's pretty dicey. I love the idea of, even if it's only $5 in my pocket, it's $5 in my pocket, not completely a donation. But we really have to be cautious about how we value things. So we often ascribe to something an inflated value because we're kind of putting the heart value onto it, or the replacement value, the idea that if we were to have to buy that Royal Dalton figurine again, it would cost us $400. Well, obviously you can't sell something that's used for $400. Like we say in real estate, and it applies to resale things, is that it's only worth what the market is willing to pay for it. So in the case of resale furniture, It's used furniture. And if somebody's willing to come and pick it up and give you 50 bucks, well, then that is a win-win situation. So fair market value is something we talk about a lot in real estate, but it applies also to your used brown furniture. The example that I've given in the past is our dining room set that we scrimped and saved for. Solid cherry, gorgeous Duncan Fife. I thought it was gorgeous at the time. Now I don't really care for that style. But the fact that I spent X number of dollars in 1989 does not translate to today. It's been used, it has served its purpose, and if somebody is willing to take it off my hands and give me a few $100s for it, bonus. So now there are some exceptions to this, and I don't want you selling things that are potentially valuable for pennies on the dollar, but things like mid-century modern furnishing right now is super hot. I'm a big fan myself and have started collecting it. If I had only known, I would have saved it from my parents' basement, 1970s basement. But any of this teak modernist lines, these are very, very popular with today's buyers, and they emulate the kind of sleeker, pared down stylings of something like an IKEA catalog. So any of that is really valuable. There are some solid state electronics like stereo equipment or old cameras, antique jewelry, those kinds of things. They can have value. And if you have questions, seek out the opinion of a professional. You can Google virtually every type of appraisal online and somebody will be able to do it for you. Persian rugs, sterling silver, if you happen to have those in your life and you're wondering what they're worth, far better to deal with this now than to have to worry about it in the future. So the only way that these valuables can translate to actually adding value to your life is if you are to sell them. So we want to make sure that we are giving them the proper send off and getting the proper value. And then we are left with one last category. Can you guess what that is? Oh, sorry, one last slide. There was an old woman who lived in a shoe and also had a timeshare in Hawaii. Yeah, I think this is a great plan. Downsize, get rid of your stuff, and then you have enough for both places, a vacation property and your primary residence. So the last category are the things that we want to keep. We are going to keep the best of the best for ourselves. We don't need 2 sets of china, the company china, the everyday china. We don't need good sheets and everyday sheets or towels or any of that stuff. Nobody here should live with anything but their very best and the things that they enjoy and bring them pleasure, things that bring them joy, like Marie Kondo says. So we want you to keep those things. That's not our intention, is that you have to be stripped bare of everything except for one change of clothes. But when you keep it, we are keeping it with intention that it's going to add to our future life, that it's not there by circumstance or happenstance. It's there because we've chosen to keep it. I love that idea too. Just being really specific and deliberate in determining what we keep. The smaller house can mean bigger vacations. And I think this is a lesson I have definitely learned from my children. My children are not collectors of things. I don't even know if they'll be able to afford a house. They could end up being total transients and renting. But they have taught us that life is not about things. It's about adventures. It's about experiences. And I know that we have to be prudent. We have to make sure that we put stuff aside for a rainy day. But really, at the end of the day, nobody ever says, gee, I wish I had more teacups. Or gosh, that stamp collection just wasn't big enough. I needed just a few more stamps. What they say is they wish they had gone and seen China while they still could, or that they had had that nice meal with family one more time. That's what people care about, not the stuff. Joan Rivers, not exactly known to be a fount of wisdom, did say something very wise. She said, never love something that can't love you back. I think dogs are not included in that. Okay, so we have gone through the battle plan. We have started strong and done all the things that are going to prepare us for success. We have taken back the territory and blocked out our time. We have done the recruiting of help if we need it. Maybe we've even hired somebody to help us with this process. And then we've engaged in the campaign to bring us victory, which is campaign divide and conquer. And now we get to enjoy. We get to enjoy knowing that your home and your peace has been restored. And I hope that you will experience that. If you have questions, this would be a great time to type them into the text box while I tell you about some very special offers that we want to make sure that we leave you equipped for victory. The first step in crafting the life you want is to get rid of everything you don't. That's right. The best way to organize things is to get rid of most of it. Am I right? I think I'm right. So we have this wonderful program that is a 30-day email campaign. For 30 days, you are going to get a task and a tip and inspiration, and it's going to be a way for you to get going on this decluttering journey. So this is an example, just the front little bit of the first task. This isn't the full email that you'd receive, but it starts with the front hall closet. Now, this is a 25-minute task that you can get done, and especially now as we are switching over, get rid of the winter coats, take them and make sure they are what you want to keep for next year. And we're going to start with the front hall closet. And this is what you're going to be sent as a tracking for your own progress. We even have reward days built in. This is a wonderful program for you and a friend. You can sign up. It's no cost, no obligation. And I know it deviates a bit from our plan about staying in the one room that needs it the most. But if this is something that you'd find helpful, please sign up for it. And we will be sending that off to you. Okay? Don't worry, I'm not going to come and check to make sure you did your homework. We just want to give this to you as a service and an added benefit. Finally, we want to share with you something super exciting. This is a charity fundraising event for Chats, which is a wonderful local York region organization that supports seniors' independent living. But we have a paper shredding event coming up. Week Saturday. So there still are a few spots available, not too many, but we have been giving everybody an appointment to bring their shredding, and then we have a big on-site shredding truck that will literally shred your papers as you wait. You can wait and watch and see them being shredded. Don't worry about paper clips or staples. This is going to be a big deal. Okay, so if you have the need of shredding paper, like I do, you can come and bring those and have them securely shredded. No cost. We don't charge you for this. We just would ask that you would make a donation to Chats, and we'll give you those details. Okay? You have to reach out to us for an appointment. We won't know that you're coming, and we want to keep everybody safely distant. Okay? So please reach out for this. Now, the other thing we like to do, I didn't realize this was out of date, but we'd love to do virtual condo tours. Now, in days gone by, we actually went out in my minivan and went around Richmond Hill or Aurora or wherever, and I would show people the condos that were for sale on MLS. Now we do it virtually. And actually, there's some economies. In 1 hour, we can see 8 to 10 condos, and it will give you an idea of how they differ in terms of cost or amenities, or it really helps to pull down some of the barriers to condo living that people can often express to me, like they're small, they're boxy. Oh, no. Some of them are much bigger than the house I'm sitting in right now. So we have lots of options for you, and we'll share with you our market knowledge about that neighborhood and also about buying a condo in general. It's really informative. And so if you think a condo might be in your future, please join us. Okay, so you can sign up online for that as well. And then finally, here's how you contact us. Well, you can join us and join our Facebook. You can always find me on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. And of course, we also have our website there for any of your other special events or offers, or if you'd like more information about anything that we do, anything that you've heard, and we will make sure that we are reaching out to you to send you those resources whenever you wish. So my time here is almost up, but I did promise you an opportunity to ask your questions. So does anyone have a question for me specific? I'd love your feedback, anything that you have for me, any advice about how we could improve our webinar. I like that too. I'm not here for me, I'm here for you. So if there's something that you haven't heard, a topic that you would like us to cover, let us know. This is a great time. You've got my undivided attention for exactly 9.5 minutes. I'll just play the Jeopardy song while we wait. Any questions? I want you to know that if you have questions after, or you run into a roadblock that we haven't addressed, please reach out to me. One thing that I know is really common is for people to have one category where they have a lot of it. And it doesn't, it's not as easy to tackle. So if you have a particular category, something that you own, like I heard referred to as a ridiculous amount of something. Is it books? Is it DVDs? Oh, you're most welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. If you have a particular category, is it crafting things or tools, woodworking tools? Oh my goodness. There's lots of everything in people's lives, but what is it in particular that holds you back? We'd love to work with you to get that taken care of. Okay, so anybody interested in real estate questions? Not at all what I was intending to speak about, but if it's not about decluttering, is there anything else you'd like to ask me about? Kids, old school, cute stuff. Oh yes, things that we want to keep. Well, I do think that you can keep some of it. That's kind of what I've said to myself is we will keep the best, and just I don't feel as bad taking pictures of the rest of it. And then if I was to go the next step, I could put it into a photo book. Or maybe the next time you go visit your kid, drop it off at their house. Do you have any of your papers from school? I have a few. I have a science project. I think I have a couple of notebooks from elementary school, things my mom kept, a couple of report cards. Yeah, so Danny, don't worry. We will be sending this out to you and you can rewatch it if you choose to. And we'll also be sending you out the Decluttering Battle Plan guidebook and you can review the first part of it. So I'm glad that you found this interesting. I hope it's helpful. And like I've said, the goal is to inspire you into action. And I know that if you take action in the next 24 hours, you have a statistically much greater chance of following through on your resolution. So I don't want this just to be head knowledge. I want you to put it into action and make a plan. Call a friend, like it's like who wants to be a millionaire? Call a friend, ask for a lifeline, ask for somebody to join the 30-day decluttering challenge with you, somebody to help keep you motivated, and then you can move on from there. How's that sound? Yeah, I like that. Who wants to be a millionaire? If you're living in York region in a detached home, you are a millionaire. You just have to realize that. Okay, a lifeline, call a friend, any of those things. Okay, well, I am off now to an appointment where we are doing a staging consultation. So much fun. So I am going to go get hydrated and then make sure that I'm on time for my appointment. Thank you so much for sharing some time with me. Thank you for being here. I really do appreciate you spending time with me today. And we'll look forward to answering any of your future questions or inquiries. I hope you'll sign up for our shredding event if you live in York Region. And if not, please at least make sure you're with us for the 30-day decluttering challenge. Okay? So have yourselves a